कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सद श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। मायपुर नवदीप धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। नर्मदा माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय। श्री रामनवमी महामहोत्सव की जय। भगवान श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की जय की जय। श्री श्री सीता राम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gaurang. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before starting to read from the book Valmiki Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama presented by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami, we'll chant the Mangalacharan. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakhaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Chagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shri Vishakhan Vitams Janamom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nitinamani Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे रामाय रामभद्राय रामचंद्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पते नमः। Sri Rama Rama Rame Tiram Virame Manurame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varaname. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, would like to welcome all the devotees who have who have come to join in this session. Today is the second day of the reading of Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram, presented by His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami Maharaj, dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Continuing from page number 17, the last two lines. So I'm going to read for half an hour, and then Asita Prabhu will continue to read. I'm getting so many messages. Sorry. Because we are organizing Hindi session also simultaneously. So we have to manage both of them. Hare Krishna. We'll continue to read. Maharaj Dashrath. So before starting, I just want to ask devotees that am I audible to everybody or not? You can just before starting, you can just so in this chat box you can give yes, I am audible. So please message me in this chat box so that I'm aware that you are all actively hearing. Sindhu Paudial wants to speak, but you can message Prabhuji or Mataji. I'm not able to recognize. Okay, thank you. Two devotees have given their message. I'm yet to receive from other devotees. यहाँ पे रख दीजिए, यहाँ पे रख दीजिए. हाँ, थोड़ा गिर जाएगा नीचे. नीचे ही रख दीजिए ना, नीचे गिर जाएगा. Okay. I don't know why. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Okay, before starting, I would like to send a short thing. If at all you don't have a copy of Sri Ramayana book and would like to order, so this is the link which I am giving here. So to this link you can order your copy, and we have an offer for the retail customers or retail customer devotees. They can, so retail price is 220 rupees, but if they want to distribute more of these books, then they can order through this link. So but we are providing a retail discount of discounted price of rupees 159, which is much less than the retail price, which is 220 rupees. So here is the link for that, but the only condition is we need to order minimum one box. So this link is for Ramayana retail customers. Too much of marketing. We'll start reading from the book. So our aim is to distribute more and more books. So that's the idea behind organizing this one. So don't mind me giving so many links. This is as a part of service. So we'll start reading. I hope everybody is following me from page number 17. So we are continuing to read from page 17. Maharaj Dasharatha readily. So this is the place. Maharaj Dasharath readily assented, and soon the sacrifice was begun. Meanwhile, in the higher planets, the chief demigods approached Lord Brahma and explained, O grandsire, because of your benedictions, Ravana has become so powerful that he is harassing everyone at will. Even we cannot subdue the wicked Rakshasa. Therefore, we request you to personally devise the means for his destruction. Lord Brahma considered the situation and then replied, At the time of asking for benedictions, Ravana did not bother to ask for immunity from death at the hands of human beings, for he considered them to be too insignificant. While Brahma was thinking how Ravana could be killed, Lord Vishnu suddenly appeared riding on his carrier Garuda. As effulgent as many suns, Lord Vishnu appeared in his four-handed armed form, dressed in bright saffron garments and carrying his disc, conch, club, and lotus flower. The demigods worshipped the Supreme Lord with great reverence and then requested, O Master of the Universe, please come to our rescue by dividing yourself into four, becoming the sons of Maharaj Dasharath for the purpose of killing Ravana. Lord Vishnu replied, Rest assured, there is no longer any need to be afraid. I will soon incarnate to rule over the earth for 11,000 years after vanquishing your enemy, the king of the Rakshasas. After saying this, Lord Vishnu disappeared as the demigods looked on with wonder. Meanwhile, from the sacrificial fire of Maharaj Dasharath, there appeared an exceptional being of dark complexion with all auspicious bodily features. This personality appeared to be unlimitedly powerful. He was decorated with transcendental ornaments, and in his hand he carried a large golden pot of sweet rice. That divine person then told Maharaj Dasharath, I am a messenger of Lord Vishnu. With folded hands, the king replied, O Vishnu Duta, please order me to perform whatever sacrifice I render. The servant of Vishnu said, This pot of sweet rice is the reward of your two sacrificial performances. Give portions of your three wives to eat. Through them, you shall beget four sons who will forever perpetuate your fame. Maharaj Dasharath happily accepted the sweet rice and circumambulated the Vishnuduta. After Lord Vishnu's messenger disappeared from view, Maharaj Dasharath quickly gave portions of the sweet rice to his wives, for he was eager to have sons. Maharaj Dasharath gave Kaushalya one half of the sweet rice, Sumitra 1/4, and Kaikeyi 1/8. Then, after some deliberation, he gave the remaining eighth to Sumitra. All three wives were overjoyed, for they were confident that they would soon become mothers. The three queens eagerly ate their shares, and soon thereafter, each felt the presence of divine offspring within their wombs. When Maharaj Dasharath understood that his wives were pregnant, he too became very satisfied. Meanwhile, Lord Brahma ordered the demigods as follows: Beget partial manifestations of yourselves to assist Lord Vishnu in his forthcoming incarnation. The children which you produce in the form of monkeys by uniting with apsaras, she monkeys, and female yakshas, nagas, vidyadharas, and other celestial beings must be capable of assuming any form at will, and must possess all other mystic powers. In addition, they must be very intelligent, highly skilled in the use of weapons, having prowess almost equal to Lord Vishnu, and possess ethereal bodies. After receiving the order of Lord Brahma, Indra begot Vali, Surya begot Sugriva, Brahaspati begot Tara, Kuvera begot Gandhamadha, Vishwakarma begot Nala, Varuna begot Susena, Vayu begot Hanuman. Besides these principal monkeys, many thousands of others took birth to assist Lord Vishnu in his mission. All of them were gigantic, like mountains, and were very eager to fight with Ravana. Like the demigods who begot them, these monkeys were born just after conception. They were so powerful that they could agitate the ocean with their impetuous energy. There were three classes of these created beings: bears, monkeys, and monkeys that had long tails like cows. Because there were more than 10 million of these monkeys and bears, the earth soon became overrun with them as they wandered throughout the forests, eating wild fruits and various roots. After completion of the Putreshti sacrifice, the demigods who personally came to accept their offerings, and the priests, Rishyashringa and Shanta, departed for their respective residences. Then, after a pregnancy of 12 months, on the 8th day of waxing bright fortnight in the month of Chaitra, Kaushalya gave birth to a son. This divine child had reddish eyes and lips, long arms, and was decorated with all auspicious markings. The son of Kaushalya represented one half of the potency of Lord Vishnu. Soon thereafter, a son representing one fourth of the prowess of Lord Vishnu was Kaikeyi, Maharaj Dasharath's youngest queen. Then, 2 days after the appearance of Kaushalya's son, Sumitra gave birth to twins, each representing 1/6 of the potency of Lord Vishnu. All four of the newborn children highly resembled one another and were exceedingly effulgent and pleasing to behold. Indeed, upon the appearance of Lord Dasharath's four sons, the demigods showered flowers from heaven, while the Gandharvas sang and played musical instruments as the Apsaras danced. In the Ayodhya, there was a great festival as the musicians, dancers, and actors crowded the streets, with all the citizens participating in the merrymaking. There is a footnote, number 4. Srila Prabhupada explains, being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with His expansion and expansions of the expansion. Their holy names were Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in the four forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasharath. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna are all Vishnu Tattva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many forms. Although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattvas has many forms and incarnations. The Lord is situated in many forms, such as Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, and these forms may exist in any part of the creation, in any part of His creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. Lord Ramachandra, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna, who being Vishnu Tattva are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dasharath in response to to prayers by the demigods. Continuing, 13 days after the birth of Kaushalya's child, Vashishta Muni, the family priest of Maharaj Dasharath, performed the name giving ceremony. The fortunate rishi named the son of Kaushalya Rama, while the son of Kaikeyi was named Bharata. The twin sons of Sumitra were named Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Thereafter, Vashishta took charge of performing all the purificatory rituals for the sons of Maharaj Dasharath, culminating with the sacred thread ceremony. Under Vashishta's guidance, all four brothers became masters of the Vedas, great heroic warriors, and reservoirs of all godly qualities. From birth, however, Rama outshone his brothers in all respects. Quite naturally, he became the favorite son of Maharaj Dasharath. Likewise, from childhood, Lakshmana was very attached to Rama. Similarly, Rama was not willing to eat anything or even go to sleep without Lakshmana. Whenever Rama was hunting, Lakshmana unfailingly accompanied him. Shatrughna and Bharata were also very dear to each other and thus inseparable. After Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna completed their education, Maharaj Dasharath began to consult with his family priest, Vashishta, about their marriages. During one such discussion, the great and powerful Brahma Rishi, Vishwamitra, arrived in Ayodhya. When he entered the palace, Maharaj Dasharath and Vashishta immediately got up from their seats to greet him. After worshipping Vishwamitra properly, Dasharath brought him into the court and seated him on the throne. Maharaj Dasharath greeted Vishwamitra saying, "O foremost of saintly persons, may all your endeavors to conquer repeated birth and death meet with success. I consider your coming here as welcome, a gift as nectar placed in one's own hands, as torrential rainfall after a long drought, as the birth of a son for one who was childless, as the recovery of a great treasure that was considered irrevocably lost, or as the joy one feels on a festive occasion." When Vishwamitra then asked about Maharaj Dasharath's welfare, the king humbly replied, "O great Rishi, your coming here is a great blessing for me. Indeed, you have bestowed a great honor upon me. Please inform me of your desire so that I may serve the purpose of your visit." Pleased with Maharaj Dasharath's reception, Vishwamitra replied, "I was engaged in the performance of a great sacrifice, and it had almost reached completion when two Rakshasas named Maricha and Subahu interrupted the performance by dropping flesh and blood upon the sacrificial arena. These vicious Rakshasas are determined to frustrate my attempt. Thus, they have repeatedly polluted my altar. O king, so that I may successfully complete the sacrifice, I have come here to take your son Rama to my ashrama to kill these terrible Rakshasas. Please do not hesitate to fulfill my request out of parental affection. For I assure you that Rama will easily be able to accomplish this task. In return for your generosity, I shall certainly give you ample benedictions. Therefore, please allow me to take Rama for just 10 days. You may rest assured that he will return here safely." Vishwamitra's words pierced the very core of Maharaj Dasharath's heart. The king's entire body began to tremble. Then, after the rishi fell silent, he fainted upon his throne. Moments later, when Maharaj Dasharath regained consciousness, he again considered the prospect of losing Rama and fainted for a second time, falling down onto the floor. After an hour, the king regained consciousness. Then, upon seeing Vishwamitra before him, he pleaded, "O foremost of sages and well-wisher of everyone, my dear son Rama is only 16 years old. He had not even finished his military training and has ever entered the battlefield, has never entered the battlefield. Please do not ask for my inexperienced son. Instead, let me accompany you along with an Akshoni of soldiers to kill the Rakshasas. However, if you insist that Rama must go, then let me and my army come to fight alongside him. My dear Vishwamitra, I am an old man. Without Rama, I could not bear to continue living. Please tell me, who are these two Rakshasas and what is the extent of their prowess? Vishwamitra replied, the king of Rakshasas is named Ravana and he is now oppressing the entire world. When he does not personally obstruct a sacrifice, he deputes these two powerful Rakshasas, Maricha and Subahu, to do the mischief. Upon hearing the name of Ravana, Maharaj Dasharath became increasingly despondent. He said, no one is capable of fighting with Ravana. Just these two Rakshasas are too formidable, either for my son or for me. Therefore, O Rishi, I cannot fulfill your request. Indeed, I cannot bear to think of allowing my son to accompany you. Becoming nearly mad with grief, Maharaj Dasharath began to speak incoherently, refusing Vishwamitra's request. Thus the Rishi became highly insulted and angrily declared, O foolish king, your impudence will cause the ruin of your dynasty. You promised to serve me and have now gone back on your word. You have promised to serve me and have now gone back on your word. Such behavior toward a Brahmana has never before been heard of in the Raghu dynasty. Therefore, I shall quickly leave this condemned place. Because of Vishwamitra's sudden anger, the earth began to shake, and then even the demigods in heaven became afraid. Appraising the situation, Vashishta hurriedly approached Maharaj Dasharath, saying, O king, do not destroy all your previously acquired merit by abandoning righteousness. You have made a solemn promise and must now fulfill Vishwamitra's request by giving him your son, Rama. I do not think you have anything to fear. Formerly, when Vishwamitra was a king, he received celestial weapons from Lord Shiva, which had been born of Daksha's daughters, Jai and Suprabha. Vishwamitra will surely give these weapons to Rama, as well as the necessary prowess to kill the Rakshasas. Indeed, Vishwamitra could easily kill Maricha and Subahu himself, but he is seeking Rama's help just to enhance the glory of your son. After hearing his preceptor's words, Maharaj Dasharath's fear subsided, allowing his mind to again become balanced. Thus specified, the king agreed to Vishwamitra's proposal. Maharaj Dasharath then summoned Rama to the royal court. Because the two were inseparable, Lakshmana also presented himself before his father. Maharaj Dasharath affectionately smelled his sons' heads and the brothers then departed, with Vishwamitra walking in front and Rama and Lakshmana following, their bows in hand. As they left the palace, flowers showered on them from the sky. After walking along the banks of King River Sarayu for 12 miles, Vishwamitra stopped and said, My dear Rama, please sip some water for purification. I shall now teach you two mantras known as Bala and Atibala. After hearing them, you will become freed from the influence of fatigue and old age and also gain incomparable wisdom and strength. Although I knew that these qualities already exist in you, I still want to impart these mantras onto you for your benefit. After receiving the mantras, Lord Rama shone with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. The three then spent the night happily on the banks of Sarayu and the Ganga. Upon seeing an ashrama of rishis situated there, Rama inquired about its history. Vishwamitra then replied, This is the very place where Lord Shiva burnt Cupid to ashes after the god of love, tried to disturb his deep meditation. The next morning, Vishwamitra and two brothers crossed the Ganga. While in midstream, Rama could hear the loud sound of cascading water, although there seemed no apparent reason for the sound. Asked why this was so, Vishwamitra explained. Once Lord Brahma created a lake from his mind. That reservoir of water became known as Manasa Sarovara. The river Sarayu flows from that lake, and the sound you hear is water coming down from the Manas Sarovar and then joining with the Ganga. O Rama, you should offer your prayers and obeisances at this sacred place. After arriving at the southern bank of Ganga, Rama saw a dense, uninhabited forest, and thus he inquired. This desolate forest invokes fear in the heart of whoever beholds it. Please tell me why. Vishwamitra replied. After King Indra killed the apparent demon Vritrasura, he became overwhelmed by sinful reactions and lost his splendor. To restore Indra to his normal condition, the demigods bathed him in Ganga water, empowered with Vedic mantras. Then, taking the water containing Indra's impurities, the demigods deposited it in this place. Because this land accepted his sinful reactions, Indra gave it the benediction that it would become a very prosperous country. In this way, two flourishing kingdoms named Malada and Kurusha were established here. Later on, however, a wicked Rakshasi named Tataka came here and began to terrorize the citizens. This Rakshasa woman was the wife of Sunda, and their son is Maricha, whom I have brought you here to kill. Gradually, all the inhabitants of this palace became so greatly harassed by Tataka that now it remains deserted. My dear Rama, I want you to destroy this she-demon today, freeing this country from its opposition. As long as this Rakshasi lives, no one will even dare to enter this forest. Lord Rama then asked, O great Rishi, if it is appropriate, please explain this Rakshasi became so explain how this Rakshasi became so powerful. Vishwamitra replied, there was once a powerful Yaksha named Suketu who pleased Lord Brahma by his performance of severe austerities. Being childless, Suketu desired a son, but instead Lord Brahma awarded him a powerful daughter. This very powerful, beautiful girl was named Tataka, and when she grew up, she was given in marriage to Sunda, the son of Jumba. Later, the sage Agastya cursed Sunda to die. In their attempt to retaliate, Tataka and his son Maricha rushed at the rishi, hoping to devour him. However, Agastya immediately cursed both mother and son to become man-eating Rakshasas. Thus the beautiful Tataka became transformed into horrible-looking ogress. Because Agastya Rishi used to meditate in this area, Tataka is obsessed with creating disturbances here. Vishwamitra continued, my dear Rama, please understand that Tataka is thoroughly wicked. Therefore, cast aside all hesitation in killing a woman. Remember how Indra formerly killed Virochana's daughter when she desired to ravage the earth. Likewise, Lord Vishnu killed the wife of Brigumuni when she had desired to slay Indra. Please then shake off all uneasiness and prepare yourself to fulfill my command. Receiving this order, Rama twanged his bow. Its awesome sound reverberated throughout the four directions, terrifying all creatures that heard it. When Tataka heard the sound of Lord Rama's bow, she became simultaneously struck with wonder and inflamed with rage. She rushed madly toward the place from where the sound had emanated. When Rama saw her approaching, he exclaimed, "O Lakshmana, just see this hideous and gigantic creature. She is so horrible that pious hearts break at the very sight of her. Still, since this Rakshasi is a woman, I shall not kill her. Instead, I will render her harmless by cutting off her hands, feet, nose, and ears. Thus mutilated, she will not be able to commit further crimes. Rushing forward, Tataka created a dust storm that temporarily blinded Rama and Lakshmana. Then, using her prowess of illusion, Tataka created a shower of stones. Regaining his composure, Rama smashed all the rocks to pieces and then quickly cut off Tataka's arms. Simultaneously, Lakshmana cut off Tataka's ears and at Rama's urging the tip of her nose. However, by utilizing her mystic powers, Tataka immediately disappeared. While remaining invisible, she again became she again began showering stones. With an impassioned voice, Vishwamitra then urged, O Rama, twilight is rapidly approaching, and at that time Rakshasa's prowess greatly increases. Therefore, give up your merciful attitude and kill Tataka at once. As Rama released a shower of arrows, Tataka suddenly became visible and rushed towards him. Undisturbed, Rama selected an especially powerful golden arrow from his quiver and shot it at the demoness. Although Tataka rushed forward at the speed of Indra's thunderbolt, Rama's single blazing arrow pierced Tataka's chest, causing her to fall to the ground dead, making a tumultuous sound. From the heavens, the demigods uploaded and threw down showers of flowers. The Gandharvas and Apsaras began to sing and dance in ecstasy, and great rishis praised the prowess of Lord Rama. The demigods, headed by Indra, then approached Vishwamitra in private and said, "O Rishi, because Lama has a very important mission to accomplish on our behalf, you should now impart to him all your knowledge of celestial weapons." After saying this, the demigods disappeared, and Vishwamitra, Rama, and Lakshmana happily spent the night there. The next morning, the Vishwamitra imparted onto Rama his complete knowledge of celestial weapons. When Rama received the mantras for these celestial weapons, the weapons appeared before him in their personified forms, saying, "O Rama, please give us your order. What service can we do for you?" So I will stop here and page number 31. And I want to request Asita Das, uh, Asita Prabhu to continue reading.
Am I audible?
Hare Krishna, Asita Prabhu, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, you're audible.
Hear me? Okay. Um, if you have any questions to ask, somebody can ask now before continuing. Uh, Hare Krishna. Nobody has any questions? Okay, we will continue.
Okay.
One more thing, if devotees wants to read Prabhuji's, then you may other devotees, Aditya or anybody can uh, also very well read. So we can also encourage devotees to read. So they can message me here in the chat box. So for today and for now, Asita Prabhu, you can continue from here, and you can continue till 9:40, 9:35 like that, and then we will wrap the session. We'll
Okay.
speak for 1 minute and then we'll wrap the session. Okay.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
I,
Krishna.
I will give you access for the camera also.
Okay. Okay.
I'll switch off my camera.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Rama replied, "My request is that all of you appear before me when I think of you. After receiving this command, the personified weapons disappeared. Vishwamitra, Rama, and Lakshman continued on their journey. Later in the day, as the party approached Vishwamitra's ashram, known as Siddhashram, Rama inquired from the rishi about the history of that holy place. Vishwamitra then explained, Siddhashram was formerly the abode of Lord Vamana, who dwelt there for many hundreds of millenniums. Once the demigods came to see Lord Vamana, requesting him to approach Bali Maharaj, who was engaged in performing sacrifices. Since the king of the demons had conquered the entire three worlds, the demigods petitioned Lord Vamana to take away his kingdom by begging. Just at this time, Kashyap also happened to arrive at Siddhashrama, and after worshipping Vamana with great devotion, he prayed for the Lord to appear as his son. The Lord agreed to do so, and thus he later took birth as the dwarf Brahmana, son of Kashyap and Aditi. He thus fulfilled the purpose of the demigods by taking away the kingdom of Bali Maharaj on the plea of begging for three steps of land. After arriving at his ashram, Vishwamitra immediately set about performing his sacrifice, while Ram and Lakshman, with bows in hand, awaited the arrival of Marich and Subahu. 6 days and nights passed as the two brothers guarded the sacrificial arena, completely foregoing sleep. Then, on the critical sixth night, when the somras was about to be extracted, the sacrificial fire suddenly blazed brightly, indicating the imminent arrival of the Rakshasas. Soon thereafter, a fearful clamor was heard in the sky. Marich, Subahu, and their followers swooped down without warning, causing torrents of blood, pus, stool, flesh, and other contaminated substances to rain down upon the sacrificial altar. Lord Ram then told Lakshman, I will subdue these evil Rakshasas with my weapons, but I shall not kill them, for they are destined to live some years more. Rama discharged a mighty weapon that struck Maricha in the chest and flung him 100 yojanas into the middle of the ocean, but did not kill him. Then, taking up another powerful arrow, Ram pierced Subahu's chest, causing him to fall down dead upon the ground. By invoking a third weapon, Ram drove away all the other Rakshasas. Thereafter, the area again became calm. All the rishis who had previously resided at Siddhashram joyfully came home and congratulated Lord Ram for his wonderful accomplishment. That evening, the sacrifice was successfully concluded. After passing the night, Ram came before the rishis and inquired, O worshipable Brahmanas, now that this area has been freed from the disturbances caused by the Rakshasas, is there anything more that we can do to be is there anything more that we can do to be of service? At the behest of Vishwamitra, the rishis replied, We are about to depart for the kingdom of Mithila to take part in a grand sacrifice arranged by King Janaka. We request you two brothers to accompany us. There is a wonderful bow being kept in the sacrificial arena that was formerly presented to the demigods by Lord Shiva. Later, the demigods gave the bow to Devrat, who was the king of Mithila long ago. This celestial bow is immeasurably strong, and even great demigods cannot bend it. What to speak of human beings? The bow has remained at Mithila for a long time and is worshipable on an altar with flowers, sandalwood, paste, and other auspicious articles. Rama agreed to accompany the rishis, and thereafter a great caravan set out with 100 cars loaded with the paraphernalia required for Janak Maharaja's sacrifice. After traveling all day, the party reached the banks of the Sona river. where they stopped for the night. Then, while he was seated at leisure, Ram asked Vishwamitra if there was any history he could narrate concerning that place. Thus, the rishi related to Rama the following story. Once there was a great rishi named Kusha, a direct son of Lord Brahma. Kusha had four Kshatriya sons who founded four cities, one of which was on the banks of the river Sona. Kusha's son Kushanabha begot 100 daughters through the Apsara Kritachi. When these girls grew up, they were very beautiful and would happily play together on the banks of the river. Once the demigod of air Vayu happened to see the girls and became captivated by their exquisite beauty. Approaching them, Vayu said, "My dear beautiful girls, if you all become my wives, I shall transform your fleeting human beauty into ever fresh celestial youthfulness." The girls had no attraction for Vayu, however, and instead felt insulted. They replied, "We would never think of choosing our own husbands. We will only marry according to the choice of our father. Being the daughters of a great Rajrishi, we certainly have the power to curse you for your vulgar behavior. However, we shall not do so, for we do not wish to diminish the accumulated merit of our austerities." Vayu, who is easily angered, became highly offended. Taking revenge, he subtly entered the bodies of the 100 girls, and by his mystic power distorted their bodily features. When the girls returned to the palace crying, their father was shocked to see that they had all been transformed into hunchbacks. In reply to Kushanbha's inquiries, the girls related all that had happened. Maharaj Kushanabha congratulated his daughters for refraining from cursing Vayu and began considering how he could get them married. Previously, a great brahmachari named Chuli had been performing severe austerities. An unmarried Gandharva girl attended to him like a menial maid servant. Eventually, Chuli became pleased by her selfless service and offered her a benediction. The girl requested the rishi to give her an exceptional son while allowing her to remain a virgin. Chuli agreed, and thus appeared a mind born son of great ascetic prowess named Brahmadatta. Later, Brahmadatta ruled as a king, and it was he whom Kushanaba decided would be a suitable match for his daughters. Thus, after being invited to Kushanabha's palace, Brahmadatta accepted the 100 girls. Upon touching their hands at the marriage ceremony, one after another, their bodily deformities vanished, and each girl became beautifully beautiful again. Vishwamitra then concluded his narration by explaining Kushnab had no son. However, so he performed a sacrifice for that purpose. As a result, Gadhi was later born to Kushnab, and I am the son of King Gadhi. The next morning, the party continued their journey, and by evening they reached the bank of the Ganga. As they passed the night there, Ram requested Vishwamitra to narrate the history of the river Ganga. Thus, Vishwamitra related the following story. The presiding deity of the Himalayas, Himavan, begot two daughters by Mena, the daughter of Mount Meru, named Ganga and Uma. Once upon a time, Lord Brahma approached Himavan and requested him to allow the demigods to adopt Ganga for the future welfare of the universe. Himavan readily agreed and later gave his daughter Uma to Lord Shiva, for she had always meditated upon him while performing severe austerities. After receiving Uma, Lord Shiva began enjoying with her in an uninterrupted conjugal relationship. However, even after passing 100 celestial years in conjugal embrace, no offspring came from their combination. At this time, the demigods approached Lord Shiva and begged, "Please desist from your sexual activities, O Lord, for we fear that the offspring produced will be too powerful for the universe to bear. Instead, we humbly request you to restrain yourself and practice austerities and meditation." Lord Shiva replied, "I accept your proposal, for my heart is actually inclined toward self realization. However, since my semen has already become unseated from my heart, it will have to be received somewhere." The demigods then suggested, "Let the earth, which can bear any amount of burden, receive your seed." Thereafter, Lord Shiva released his powerful semen, and it proceeded to cover the entire surface of the earth. Upon seeing this, the demigods feared the earth might crack. Thus, they began praying to Agni and Vayu, requesting them to devour the all encompassing semen of Lord Shiva. In answer to the demigods' prayers, Agni took the help of Vayu and went to consume the semen. As soon as the fire god touched it, some of the Lord's semen turned into a white mountain, and a part of that further transformed into a thicket of effulgent white reeds. The rest of the semen remained unchanged and was conserved within Agni. The demigods were elated to see that the earth had been saved from the impending calamity. With grateful hearts, they went to worship Lord Shiva and his wife. However, Uma was very angry with the demigods for interrupting her while she was absorbed in sexual enjoyment. Seeing the demigods before her, Uma cursed them, saying, "May all your wives become barren. Likewise, let the earth not only remain childless, but also come to have an uneven surface and be ruled over by numerous kings." Thereafter, Lord Shiva and Parvati retired to the northern Himalayas to perform austerities. Sometime later, when the demigods were being harassed by the demons, they approached Lord Brahma, hoping to acquire a formidable military commander. In reply to the demigod's plea, Lord Brahma advised them, "Because of Parvati's curse, you are unable to produce a child to serve your purpose. Therefore, I suggest that Agni place the semen of Lord Shiva into the womb of Ganga. In this way, a heroic son will be begotten." Thereafter, the demigods approached Agni and related Lord Brahma's instructions. Hearing this, Agni approached the heavenly river Mandakini Ganga. He then requested her to accept the semen of Lord Shiva, which he had been holding for a long time. Ganga agreed to the proposal. Then, after assuming a most beautiful form, she allowed herself to be impregnated by Agni. However, soon after receiving the fiery semen of Lord Shiva, Ganga Devi felt an intense agonizing pain. With great agitation, she told Agni, "I cannot continue to bear the semen of Lord Shiva in my womb. Its burning is intolerable." Agni then instructed Ganga to cast off the semen at a certain place in the Himalayas, and she hurriedly went there. In this way, the semen of Lord Shiva, which had ac- which had acquired a shiny golden luster because of its contacting Ganga Devi, fell to the thicket of white reeds on the white mountains. In this way, a wonderful child was born. Other portions of the semen that fell upon the earth transformed into gold and silver mines. Indeed, because of the fierce energy of Lord Shiva's semen, mines of copper and iron were created in distant places. After the birth of the child, the demigods brought six goddesses called the Kritikas to nurse him. They assured the woman that the baby would come to be known as their son. For this reason, the child became known as Kartikeya. The boy was also Skanda, to flow, because he had fallen from the womb of Ganga. Because he saw six mothers before him, the baby assumed six faces: to suck breast, milk from all of them. Skanda was so strong that when he was only 1 day old, he killed many fierce demons as the commander in chief of the demigods. Vishwamitra then related to Lord Ram the story of King Sagara, who long ago ruled the world from his capital, Ayodhya. Because Maharaj Sagara was unable to beget a son, he, along with his two wives, went to the Himalayas to perform austerities. After some time, the king was benedicted by the great rishi, Brigu, with the boon that he would receive a son by one wife who would become the perpetuator of the dynasty, while his other wife would give birth to 60,000 more sons. Hearing this, the two queens questioned Brigumuni who would receive the one son and who would receive the 60,000 sons. Brigu replied that the decision would be left to them. Thus, Keshini, the elder queen, chose to have a single son who would perpetuate the Ikshvaku line. Sumati, the sister of Garuda, chose to have 60,000 sons. Maharaj Sagara returned home, and in due course, a son was born to Keshini and given the name Ashmanjasa. Sumati, however, gave birth to a lump of flesh shaped like a bitter melon. Shortly thereafter, when the lump was opened up, 60,000 embryonic sons emerged. They were immediately placed in jars of ghee by the nurses until they could complete their development. Later, when the 60,000 sons began growing up, their cruel elder stepbrother, Asmanjasaha, began to throw them into the river Sarayu, laughing with great pleasure to see them drown. Being very aggrieved due to the vicious behavior of his son, Maharaj Sagara finally decided to exile Asmanjasa from his kingdom. Although he kept the son of Asmanjasa, Amshuman, Anshuman, who was loved by all the subjects. After some time, Maharaj Sagara inaugurated the performance of a horse sacrifice, with Anshuman protecting the challenge horse as it wandered over the earth. However, during the performance of the sacrifice, King Indra appeared in the guise of a Rakshasa and stole the horse from the sacrificial arena. The priest fervently urged Maharaj Sagara to recover the horse at all costs. He warned that if the sacrifice remained incomplete, it would be most inauspicious. Maharaj Sagara then ordered his 60,000 sons to search the entire earth for the horse, allotting each of them one square yojana. He further instructed his sons that if the horse could not be found elsewhere, they should look below the earth. Thus, as Maharaj Sagara and his grandson Anshuman waited for the sacrificial arena, the 60,000 princes searched the entire earth. When they were unable to find the horse anywhere, the sons of Sagara began digging into the earth. This, however, upset the inhabitants of the lower worlds, such as the Nagas. Indeed, even the earth herself became extremely disturbed. Seeing this, the demigods approached Lord Brahma and petitioned him to set right the situation. Lord Brahma pacified the demigods, explaining that since the earth was a consort of Lord Vishnu, the Lord, in his form of Kapila, would soon annihilate all 60,000 sons of Sagara. Even after digging up the earth and killing many living beings in the process, the sons of Sagara could not find the sacrificial horse and thus returned to their father disappointed. When the 60,000 princes inquired from their father what they should do next, the king ordered them to continue digging further down until the horse was found. The sons of Sagara resumed their excavation of all four quarters of the earth's surface and soon came to see the four colossal elephants that protect the four directions and support the earth. These gigantic elephants support the entire weight of the earth upon their backs, and when due to exhaustion they sometimes shake their heads for relief, it creates earthquakes. Finally, after penetrating the earth all the way down to Rasatal, the sons of Sagara came upon Lord Kapila sitting in meditation, while nearby the sacrificial horse stood grazing peacefully. Sagara's son assumed Kapila to be the thief. Thus they angrily took up their digging implements and rushed to kill him. Seeing this act of aggression, Kapila became angry. Then, simply by uttering the mantra Hum, he reduced the 60,000 sons of Sagara to ashes. After a long time, when his sons had not returned, Maharaj Sagara sent his grandson Anshuman to search for his 60,000 sons and the sacrificial horse. By following the path of his by following the path his uncles had taken, Anshuman came to the passage excavated by them. After entering the earth, Anshuman came upon the great elephants and inquired from them about the whereabouts of his uncles. In reply, the elephants assured him that by continuing down the passage, he would soon come to know everything. At last, Anshuman reached the place where the ashes of the sons of Sagara lay. Seeing this, he became overwhelmed with grief. Anshuman that found the sacrificial horse nearby and decided to first offer water for the departed souls of his uncles before returning to his grandfather. Unfortunately, there was no water to be found in that place. While Anshuman was thinking what to do, Garuda suddenly appeared and said, My dear Anshuman, do not grieve for your uncles. Their deaths are ultimately meant for achieving a glorious purpose. The sons of King Sagara will be instrumental in bringing the sacred river Ganga down to earth for the welfare of all people. Your uncles were burned to ashes by the great sage Kapila. When their remains are washed over by the water of the Ganga, they will attain a heavenly destination. Now take the sacrificial horse and return to your grandfather so that the sacrifice can be completed. I think we can stop here, Prabhu.
Okay, brother. You can stop here. We are going to continue from page number 42.
Yes.
So I'll just write in the chat box so that it can be reminded to devotees who are attending. We will continue tomorrow from page 42. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for coming, and thank you to all the devotees. So we will continue tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhibhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. श्री रामनवमी महामहोत्सव की जय। श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna.